And so what we have to understand is the base, or the subgroup of students in our total population, they may have different retention rates and different expected retention outcomes. So it's important for us to take a look at that. I think that the underlying principles of retention planning are really based in, first of all, that it truly takes a village. Our demographic shifts, and the students who are coming to college in the year 2012 are so different than they were in 1970 and 80 and 90. Our demographic shifts are requiring us to be more aware of the students' needs. We have this population that's coming to us now have the highest academic needs of any population in history. They have the lowest expected family contribution in terms of financial aid support from their families. They are more diverse than they have ever been in our history, and especially in states like Texas and California and Colorado and New Mexico and Arizona, the Southwest. It behooves us to start thinking about just exactly what we should have in place in our foundation. So the first one, I think, is it takes a village. It's no longer just the student affairs or student development staff. Secondly, I think it needs to be grounded in data and information. So many times we are building retention plans based upon what we think is a good idea or a best practice, and it certainly could be a best practice in the literature, but it may not be a best practice at this particular school that I work at. And so I really need to be informed about which students are less likely to retain, which students are more likely to retain, and be able to respond to that in a manner which makes sense for the college that is in question. I think a third underlying principle is we need to trust and rely on what our students tell us. So many times we just say, well, that doesn't really matter. Even though the student might have said that was important to them, we somehow twist that around and say, well, maybe that's not something we're going to deal with, even though the student said, hey, this is high on my list of expectations. So I think it's important, one of the underlying principles is to listen to what the students are telling us and try to respond to that in a systematic kind of way.